Good morning. This is Father Stephen Kelly from St. John's Church in Detroit. We're continuing our series of daily morning meditations, where we generally look at one or another of the lessons that are assigned for morning or evening prayer, what is known as the Daily Office Lectionary. And today, for Monday, let's take a look at the lesson that's assigned for morning prayer, the first lesson, and that's from the second book of Samuel. At this point in the book, David is now fully and completely the king of Israel. Saul is dead. He is out of the picture. And so it is that David is going to begin to restore the city, or to bring up the city of Jerusalem as the place where the kingdom, where the temple will be. The Ark of the Covenant has been in the house of Obed-Edom, and at a time it was uncomfortable while it was there, and now suddenly the house is showing all sorts of blessings, and so David takes it as a sign, and the priests take that as a sign that in fact God has pleased to have the Ark to be that symbol of strength and of authority for the people of Israel. And so David decides it must come to Jerusalem. And ultimately, of course, the temple will be built. So 2 Samuel 6, verses 12 through 15, 17 through 19, and we'll talk about verse 16 as well. And it was told King David, saying, The Lord hath blessed the house of Obed-Edom, and all that pertaineth unto him, because of the ark of God. So David went and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom into the city of David with gladness. And it was so, that when they bare the ark of the Lord had gone 6 paces, he sacrificed oxen and fatlings. And David danced before the Lord with all his might, and David was girded with a linen ephod. And so David and all the house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. And they brought in the ark of the Lord and set it in his place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings unto the Lord. And as soon as David had made an end of the burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. And he dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well as to women as men, to every man a cake of bread, and a good piece of flesh, and a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, every one to his house. Okay, so this is a great time of rejoicing. This is a great time of exaltation. But it's interesting that David is making a sacrifice, and we know that King Saul tried to make a sacrifice, and he was forbidden by it, and it was part of the beginning of the fall of his kingdom, of his being the king of Israel. But in the case of David, God has allowed this and encouraged this. Ultimately, it will become once again restored as a function of the kingdom of the priests, the purvey of the priests only. But David makes this sacrifice as they move the ark from the house of Obed-Edom to what's the tabernacle. Remember, it's the tent where they would set it up for the presence of the glory of God and for worship. And ultimately, it'll be his son Solomon who will build the temple. And so you hear a little bit about the offerings and the peace offerings, and then his offerings to the people in thanksgiving for this. What's interesting is, of course, as he dances before the ark, it says mighty dance, and that he, with all of his might, and he's girded with a linen ephod. Now, it leaves out verse 16, and I think because maybe a part could be a distraction if you're looking at the actual ark part of it. But in verse 16, we hear that his wife Michal, who is the daughter of Saul, is in fact, she's infuriated by this. She's embarrassed and infuriated, and this hatred starts burning in her heart. And it'll begin to be the downfall of the marriage of Michal and David. This will actually have quite the consequences. Michal does not have children with David for whatever reason, whether she's barren or God has decided that it's not going to happen, or and she was a part of many wives. That's a part of the Old Testament that still hasn't been worked out. But David, of course, we know had several wives and some in succession. And it will set up, of course, what will end up happening while he's in Jerusalem, and that is he will see another man's wife and will covet him. And so God's punishment on David will also be severe for that as well. So anyway, a lot of good history about the history of the people of Israel. And you get to see the good of people like David, and he does a lot of good and godly things. We also get to see his failings. We get to see the warts as well as the good parts. But it's all out there for everyone to see and to realize that God is still God, and he still loves us. So today is Monday. We do have 12:15 Holy Communion. I hope you can join us in person. And if not, join us on the live stream. And may your Monday be full of blessings.